So today we're going to work on something called a measure of central tendency. And what I'm talking about is that it gives us an idea of where most of the data is in our list of numbers or people or heights, anything. So when we talk of the mean, we're talking about something that we know from before. It's a sum of values in a set of data divided by the number of values in that data. Another word for mean, the average. You've seen that before. So remember, you would add up all your grades, say 4 in a semester, and then divide by the number of grades that you had to get your values. In this case, I have the numbers 4, 4, 7, 8, and 10 in my list of numbers. And what I've done here is I've divided by the total list of numbers, the total number in the list, which is 5, to get a mean or an average of 6.6. The next concept is the median. The median stands for the middle, okay? It's really looking at the middle value of data ordered from least to greatest, okay? So if there's an even number of values, then the median is the average of the middle two values. Okay, so let me give you two lists, and we'll go over them right now. Now, suppose that n was even. So we have this list, 4, 4, 7, and 8. The middle position is 4, a list of 4 divided by 2, which gives us 2. Right? So what we do is we count up from the bottom of the list. So I count up 1, 2, and I use position 2 and 3 as the average. So literally, I'm focusing on these two numbers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to average them. 4 plus 7 is 11, divided by 2. So the median in that case would be 5.5. Now we'll go over examples of that later. But right now, let's go over what happens if the median was not even. So let's say the number is not even. So we've got 4, 4, 7, 8, and 10. In this case, the middle position is, well, 5 divided by 2, which gives us 2.5, which tells us it's number 3. So all you have to do is count up from the bottom position to position 3, and this is your middle number. Okay, so in this case, we count up from the bottom, and we end up with, well, 4, 4, 7. So 1, 2, 3. So 7 is our middle number. And that is how we got the median of 7. So basically on our little list here, we end up with 7 as our middle number. Now, the mode is the value that occurs most often in a set of data, right? And a set can have more than one mode, right? So when we look at our set 4, 4, 7, 8, and 10, which is ordered from least to biggest, you'll notice that 4 and 4 basically are repeated the most. So in this case, our mode is 4. So now let's continue with some examples. So we're going to calculate the mean, median, and mode by hand, and we're going to use technology. And sometimes we can use technology to do it. Okay? Now this online statistics calculator here is very useful. You can follow it in your note. I'll make it so that your PDF and the website will give you access to this. So right now, let's do this by hand first. And then if you want to, you can use technology, whether it be Excel spreadsheets or an online statistics calculator like the one that we have here. But right now, we'll start by doing it by hand. First thing we do is we create an ordered list of all of these numbers. So we're going to go and put in all our numbers from smallest to largest. So as you're going, right, what you want to do is order from smallest to largest. So this is my ordered list, but as I was creating my ordered list, what I was doing is I was ensuring that I crossed off each individual number that I used. So in the first one, I crossed off 45, then I crossed off the next biggest number, 59, and put it in my list, and then so on and so forth. 61, and then 61, and then I kept going, and then I looked for 62s, and there were no 62s. Then I looked for 63s, none, and then I found a 65, right? And then I crossed off my 65s, 68s, all the way through until I got my list completed. Now, and I've made just a small correction. At the end of my list, it should not be 59, it should be 89. So now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to first calculate the mean. So the mean is calculated by taking the mean, which is equal to the sum of all this information here, and then we divide it by all of the individual spots. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 spots. So we divide everything by 16, and we get our sum being 1106, and then divide by 16, which means the average or the mean is 69.125. Now, that is approximately 69%. So the mean is 69%. So now, how do we go about calculating the median? Well, the first thing that we have to do is make sure that we figure out what n is. N is the number of things that is in our list. In this case, n is equal to, well, 16, right? So in order to find the middle number for the median, remember the median is the middle number, we're going to say the middle position is literally going to be this. You're going to go in and you're going to, here's what we're going to do. You're going to take 16, we're going to divide by 2, and because it is an even number, the middle position is 8. But because it's an even number, we have to take the 8th and the 9th position. So what we literally do is we go in and we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we end up having our middle position being 68 and 69, because if you think about it, right, because the middle position is 8, we have to go to the next one because we have an even number of points in our list, right? Now, if you don't want to do that middle position calculation, all you do is figure out your position and then count both from the top and the bottom to the middle position, the middle positions, and then just add the two numbers, right? 68 and 69, and then we divide by 2. So on our sheets, what you're going to do is you're going to go 69, 68, and 69, add them, hit equals, and then divide by 2 to get 68.5. So now, all right, here we go. The last thing I got to remind you is when we have two numbers for the median, we don't round the median. We take whatever it is that's in between it, right? So you see how we have 68 and 69? Halfway between 68 and 69 is 68 and a half. It may not be in the list, but we still have to say that the median is 68.5. The last thing that we have to do now is we're going to have to talk about the mode. Now, the mode is talking about all things that are basically the most things that happen in our list. Now, if I look along my list here, I'm going to find repeating numbers. So there's a 2 repeating number. there's a second repeating number, and there is a second repeating number. So, oh, look at that. And the most they basically repeat is 2. So let's go and highlight those. So there's one with 2. There is another set of 2 numbers, and there is another set, right? So the biggest length set is 2 in this case, which means the mode is the most frequent number that occurs in the list. But in this case, there are 3 possible numbers that are the mode. In this case, they are 61, 68, and 71. And in essence, it is possible to have more than one mode. Because in this case, we have our repeated numbers being basically blocks of 2. Okay? All right. And that's it for mean, median, and mode. I'll include a demonstration of this website here that you'll have access to from the web page and through your PDF document that I'll produce for you online. Okay. All right. So for this software that we have to be able to get a list of information in order to do a calculation on it. So imagine that we want to find the mean, median, and mode on this list. So on the website, you'll be able to select this document, select this list, and then you're going to hit Control C or Apple C on your computer to copy it. Then you're going to click on the link that is available to you on the website. I'm going to make sure that I have it available on the website. And then also, if that doesn't work, you can also go into your support documents up at the top. There are 2 documents, one that's empty and one that is filled in with all of this information in it. You should be able to click the link for that as well, or at least copy it. Then what I want you to do is the following. You're going to go to that link and you're going to end up at this statistics calculator page, right? So this is kind of the results of what it is. So let me show you how it works. So I'm going to zoom in here. All right, so you go into this part here and you go and make sure that we're going to say that the information that we have here is the population, right? Now that you've clicked the population information, you're going to submit your data. And make sure when you put your list in by Control Ving it or Apple V into it, make sure you have commas between everything. So sometimes when you copy it across, the commas aren't in there to kind of tell the computer that each of these are individual numbers. Then you hit Submit Data. By hitting Submit Data, you end up with all of this information. Notice the population is 16, i.e. the size of our set is 16. All right, the mean we calculated to be, yes, 69.125, and we also got our median to be 68.5, which is what we expected. Now, the modes are also how we expected. We did it by calculation. Now, the lowest value was 45. Clearly on the list when we organized it from smallest to largest, and the highest value was 89. Okay, now this thing called the range, all we do is subtract this from this to get the range, and that just tells us how wide our information is. The range tells us how wide it is. We will go over these concepts of interquartile ranges, of first quartile and third quartile. We'll take a look at that later. And we'll also take a look at these 2 things here. These 2 These two things you'll learn when you're in college or in trade school or in university. Okay? This last thing here we'll take a look at. It's called a box plot. Now, a box plot basically tells us how our information is spread, and it's showing us that in this box 50% of our information is in it. Later on I'm going to show you what all of these little ticks mean. Okay, so these ticks, so this is the start, this is the end, and then this part here represents where 50% of our information is in, our list is in. And we'll take a look at that later. Now, back to the lesson. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the best measures for central tendency. So we need to figure out in different bits of data whether the mean, median, or mode is the best type of information that we can use to kind of decide where most of the information is for our data. And so for this question, we're trying to figure out which central tendency best describes the data. So, and we'll explain each time. So the first thing that we have is we have Ferd having masses in bags of roasted acorns that he sold Monday at his new store. So these are all the masses that we have, and we need to order them. So let's do that now. So the lowest number is 37, and there are 4 of them. And then we have 2 38s, 2 41s, and 43 through 58. And now we have our list organizes. So let's go and complete the mean. So the mean in this case is just the sum of all those numbers that we have in our ordered list or unordered list. And then we divide by the number of points. In this case, it is 12. And we end up with 41.25 grams. So now let's go and take a look at the the median. So the key here is the number of points in our data is 12. And what we're going to do is we're going to figure out the midpoint spot. Now, since it's even, all we're going to do is figure out that we've got 12 divided by 2, which gives us 6, right? And we're going to pick the next 2 spots. We're going to pick 6 and 7 because since it's even, there is no middle number. So we actually have to figure that out. And this is what we get for our median. So the position is 6 and 7. And by going to our list, we find position 7 to be 38 and 41 on our list. So now let's calculate the median. And our median is going to be 38 plus 41 divided by 2. And that gives us 39.5 as our middle number, otherwise known as the median. Now for me, since I'm a visual person, I like to have different colors for all of the different numbers. And that is why I have the numbers organized in colors, right? Any numbers that repeat are going to have colors. And in this case, 37 is the longest set of numbers. So guess what? The mode is equal to 37 because there are no other numbers that repeat as much as 37. Now, let's take a look at the explanation as to which one is the best. The mean, the median, or the mode. So if I'm looking at this, 41.25 is here, right? 41.25 is here. All right. And we have our median being right here. And there's our 39.5 between 48 and 31. And now 37, I'm going to tell you right now that it's right here at the end. So we got all those numbers representing the mean, median, and mode. Now here is our explanation as to which one is the best. So in this case, for our explanation, the median is closest to the smallest number. But it's also very far from the biggest number. So Survey says this one is garbage. Okay? The median is not good. Now let's look at the mode. The lowest, and the mode is the lowest number. This is pretty bad. So, we don't choose that. But when we take a look at the mean, this is the best because it's kind of showing where where the middle average number is, and it also kind of accounts for the repeating 37s. That's why it works. And just take a moment and copy that down, and you're good to go. So let's move on to B. So for question B, we're asked to organize mathematical scores on a quiz out of 100. And the first thing we got to do is we got to order this list of numbers. And once we've organized all the numbers, we have this. So let's go and calculate the mean, the median, and the mode. And the mean is just total them all up, find out how many spots there are. In this case, it's 13. And we divide it by 13. So we end up with 914 divided by 13, which gives us 70%. So let's mark that on our list here. So there's 70%. So we're kind of keeping track of where all our important numbers are. Now let's figure out our median. So in this case, N for our median is 13 spots. So this is an odd number, right? So now remember, if it's the odd number, all we're going to do is take, if there's a 0.5, we just count up to that odd number, round it up. So in this case, we're going to get, so the midpoint spot is going to be 13 divided by 2, which is equal to 6.5, right? But then 6.5 rounds to, you guessed it, 7. So to get to the middle of this list, all we have to do is count to the 7th spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So this 67 is our spot, is our median. So let's write that out. And now we'll calculate the mode. And the mode is determined by finding a number that's repeated. So if I go through this list, I find the only number that's repeating is the last bit here. So our mode is equal to 100%. So the mode is 100%. So now here is the reasoning why I choose the median as the best. This time I'll write it as a sentence. So if you take a look at most of the scores that we have here, most of the people scored between 57 and 71%. Sorry, 73%. So that's basically this group here, right? So we can't use the mode because it's it's out of the ballpark, because most people didn't get that. But when we take a look at the average, right, the mean, you'll notice the mean is just to the right of the center. And guess what? In this case, the middle number in our list basically ensures that we literally have half of the people above us and half of the people below us, which means that the median is the best of those grades. And now let's move on to part C. All right, so this problem shows us a table of prizes and the value for those prizes. So I'm just going to give you an explanation here. So there's 1 at 5,000, 4 at 1,000, and 8 at 500, and 80 at 10. So if I wanted to organize all this information as a list, we wouldn't be able to fit it on this page. My goodness. Let's just take a moment and write it out, or a reasonable facsimile. So we need to order all this information first. And since we order it, we're going to have, well, look at the smallest number. We're going to start with 10. So let's write that out. 10, 10, 10. Jeez, I can't possibly put all the 10s there. So let's just say that there are 80 of them. Okay. Okay, and then we'll do another color for our 500. So for 500, there's 8 of them. I'll just do 2 and then do ... and then put 500. And we know that there are 8 of them. And so on for 1,000 and 5,000. So we literally have this going on for our list, right? Okay, so now let's go and decide how we're going to calculate the mean. Now, we know that we have to figure out the sum divided by 80 of them, plus 8 of them, plus 4 of them, plus 1, which immediately tells us that we have our sum divided by 93. Now, how do we go about collecting the sum? So we know that it's some number divided by 93. Now, in order to calculate the sum of that number, I want you to think about what's happening here. We have 80 of these 10s, right? In order to figure out what 80 10s are, we literally have to do this. Just multiply 80 times 10, right? Now, for the total of 500s, we're just going to take 8 times 500. And then we're going to add on to that 4 times 1,000. Oh my gosh. And we got to keep going. And then we got to add 5,000 plus 1. And we just add the 5,000 at the end because it's just 5,000 times 1. And then we just total that number and we end up with this. So we end up with 13,800 on the top, and then we divide it by 93 to get our final answer of $148.39. And that is what our mean is. Now, imagine we're trying to try to find where the median is, right? So Simpson's getting out his red pen again. So here is n. N is equal to 80 plus 8 plus 4 plus 1. So that tells you how many spots are along here. In this case, we're going to have 93 as our n. Now, this is an odd number, right? So with this odd number, the mid position is going to be 93 divided by 2, which gives us a mid position of 46.5, which really means it's 47. So we need to get to position 47 in our list. So if we start from the left side of this list and start counting up, right? The 47th position is in this spot here, somewhere in 80. So that means our median is 80. No, not 80, it's 10. So the median is going to be $10 because it's in the first set, right? So now, here's what's left. We need to figure out what the mode is. The mode is equal to 10 because there's 80 of them. So the mode is $10. We're done. So now ask yourself, which one is the better value? The mean, the median, or the mode? Which one is best? So because 10 occurs so much and and the median is in the lower half of this entire problem, guess what? I'm going to tell you the median is the best. Because it represents the middle number of the set. And also, you could also say the mode is the best because it's the most valuable, it's the most used number in our list. So $10 is the best number for the prizes, the best measure of central tendency. All right, here's our next question. Is it possible for a data set to have the same mean, median, and mode? Here's an example. When you think about it, to have the same mean, median, and mode, the only way that you'd be able to get it is where you have all of the same value for all of the numbers in the set. So you'll only have for type 2 the same mean, median, and mode if the following happens. If you have an even set of data and the middle terms are the same value. So all of the outsides are unique. So you notice the 8 and 9. The 8 and 9 are unique, and the 11, 12 are unique, but the central two numbers in the center are the same. So when we calculate the mode, it's 10. When we calculate the mean, you'll notice that we have a matching 8 with a 12, right? For that much lower than 10, and then we have 2 above 10, and then we have a matching 9 with an 11. So what happens is the lower half balances the top half, and then when you average all those, add up all those numbers, you get some multiple of 10 in the end. And then you divide by the number and you end up with 10 in the center. And that's it. And that's how it works. And finally, when you have the mode, you basically, the most repeating number is 10, isn't it? All right, let's move on to the next question. Which measure of tendency is usually the least representative of data, and why? So for the mode, if I have a small set, it usually won't help, right? If our mode ends up being the first number in the set, basically what happens is if I have 1,000 points and the mode ends up being the smallest number in the points, basically what happens is we think that is the center. That's not right. So you already saw an example of that earlier. So when we're actually doing measurements and trying to figure out the measures of central tendency, the mean is most frequently used because it's usually the best thing, right? Now for median, it's really good when there are a few terms that are extreme and outliers. That's all. So don't worry about it. You've seen it. Just use your list and kind of make a decision and tell me why something is good or not. Okay, so now finally, our final question of the day is to answer this question. Which measure of central tendency can be best used for categorical data? So remember that this is true. When you have categories, we're talking about certain groups, and we can use a histogram to kind of identify which is the most repeated group in our set, right? So if I look at this histogram that I have to the right here, right? I have column A, B, and C, right? And with column A, B, and C, you look for it, and the column with the highest number or the tallest column is our mode. And in this case, you would say our mode is B. So when we're talking about categorical data, a histogram does that. Now, let me show you another example. So you've used a pie chart before, right? So let's say that we had a pie chart that represented all of these different things. So maybe in this corner, we have a red block. Let's call that category A. And then for category B, we have, let's say we take up about 2/3 of this block, and we'll call this category B. So you would say the mode is category B, because category B takes the most of our pie chart. That's it. And basically, when you have a category, you have a range of points, and some of those range of points is your category, and you can use your category to determine which is the most. So remember, in a histogram like this one, we've got the largest column, and for a pie chart, we've got the biggest slice of the pie for categorical modal calculations. All right. Now, your homework is on the website. It's page 136, 375, 69, 11, 13 and 14, 10, A, B, C, and D. Okay? Good luck, guys.